It seems that the world continues to become more productive as people do and deliver more and more. And I'll be willing to bet that you have a lot of areas in your life that you're trying to keep track of. Maybe it's your workouts, your finances, your life goals, the books you read, or maybe just something as simple as planning your days. During this past year, I worked full-time, I released music on Spotify, I went on trips with my family, I went on dates, I hung out with my friends, and still managed to finish a 2-year master's program in just 11 months. So I think at this point, I figured out a way, a system that's very simple, but that works for managing my time. Recently, however, I had a very good friend of mine ask me how I organize my time. How do I go about my day and how do I get all these things done? And I was gonna record him a video on how I do these certain things and what are my systems and how I operate within certain platforms and softwares. But I figured I could make a video because I think more people might benefit from it. So I asked him, I was like, hey, is it cool if I just, take a few more days to send this to you? Because I really want to make a video about it, and I truly think that people are going to learn something from it. So I want to welcome you to this 5-part series that I'm calling I Cloned My Brain, in which I'm teaching all of the systems that I used to stay close to success during my busiest times. Throughout this series, I'm going to focus on a couple of softwares and websites to discuss 4 different categories. The 4 categories are time management, personal goals and trips, personal finances, and education. I could have taken this 5-part series and condensed it into a 1 video thing in which I kind of just give the general idea of each one of these processes. But then I went back to my friend and I said, it's like, hey, what do you think is going to help you more? Is it me diving into the nitty-gritty of each section? Or is it making, this, I guess, slightly larger but less specific video? And he said, oh no, the nitty-gritty for sure. I would rather see exactly how you do this stuff rather than, seeing general information that I can find somewhere else. So buckle up, because this is exactly what I did. Here's how I cloned my brain to be more efficient. Hi, I'm Luis, and if you've been following this channel for a while, you probably already know that I'm obsessed with being effective with the things that I have to do, so I can do the things I want to do. When you have a lot of things going on at the same time, the one thing you can always count on is that your brain is going to be overwhelmed. There's going to be a lot happening, your thoughts are going to be overflowing, you're going to be thinking of a lot of things, and the information needs to be put down somewhere. So that's why you need to clone your brain, so you can place the information somewhere that you can easily be reminded of it, or you can easily retrieve it. In this intro video, I'm going to be talking about the 2 main tools that I used, to retrieve and be reminded of information. And before you head there, I would like to introduce you to the 2 main tools we're going to be using. Think of Notion as a second brain meets note-taking, meaning you can take all sorts of notes, but you can also reorganize them as much as you'd like. So you always find me using Command P to search for things. And if you're on a Windows machine, that would be Control P. I use it for all sorts of things, from notes I took in classes or scripts I created to writing songs and organizing my finances. Goodnotes is another note-taking app, but it also recognizes handwriting. I use it for brainstorming, mind maps, and to search within PDFs. And this last feature alone could be life-changing for some students. Alright, so it's finally time for me to jump into the computer and start, showing you a couple things. I'm gonna buzz through Notion and Goodnotes. It's gonna be very quick because it's just an intro, but I hope you're ready because these are fun. Cheers to kombucha in the morning, 8 a.m. No coffee yet. No coffee yet. Welcome to Notion. If this is the first time seeing this application, you're going to see a lot of value in this. This is generally how I organize every single one of my home pages. Nothing too fancy. Some people make it super aesthetic. I don't have the capabilities, so I just keep it simple. On the left here, I put a couple of to-do things, and I tried the KISS method, the keep it simple stupid. So I generally try to keep 4 main tasks on my day, and in this case, work, and then record the end of the I Clone My Brain series, which is what you're seeing here right now, going to the gym later, and then dinner with my friend. Over here on the right, we're gonna discuss these tabs later on later videos. Nothing to worry about, but you can already see that you can link other things within the pages, right? And then over here, I generally leave smaller to-do lists right here of things that I need to do or I want to do. So like on my personal, I'm finishing a book, I want to figure out what I'm reading next, and I want to finish up my website. From the work level, this is an example. If you had to deliver a project to Steve by Monday, you can make this dynamic, right? You can type in, let me do something here real quick. I can change it to the 20 or to the 4th, whatever, the following Monday or the Tuesday. It will update that daily, which is kind of nice. So you can have theoretically a to-do list here on the side with these toggle lists drop down, and you can see, you know, what kind is coming up. That's a good example. You can have a passion project down here. In my case, it's music, so I'm recording this song soon. I've recorded it and we're going back and forth with a couple of renditions. So, you know, this is where does it stand, what's going on, kind of what's coming next. And then over here, whatever other tasks you may have. So if you renew gym membership, buy tickets to Blue Note, which is a jazz club in New York, which I kind of want to go. Find location of camping trip, whatever, you get the point. So this is Notion. Okay, with the Notion out of the way, let's get into Goodnotes. Let me pull this up here real quick. Now, Goodnotes is not free as far as I know. I think when I bought it, it was like 10, 15 bucks. I know it went up. You can buy a yearly membership situation, or you can do a one-time fee. I did a one-time fee when it was still Goodnotes 5, so they just came out with a bunch of like AI tools. I don't need it anymore, I don't care for it anymore, so this works for me, and I think you keep that in mind too. Just get what makes sense. This particular tool is very important for a couple of reasons. One, let me jump into the master's program over here. I'm just done here, boom. I kept track of all my notes, right? All my classes are over here. And there's a couple features that I think are super interesting. The first thing is that you can search for PDFs, and so like if you drop PDFs over there, PDF over here, you can search within them here. But you can also search for handwritten notes. So if you create mind maps and you wrote something down and you know you wrote something down, you can search that up, which is very friggin' nice. So like, let's look up real quick. Decision trees. Here, decision tree on one of my notes. Boom, it's over here. And you can immediately, I think I just used the eraser too. There you go. You can immediately find notes for you, which is fantastic. And you can do the same for, you know, obviously PDFs. You have other, you know, things here, decision tree over here on a different class, and so on. The idea is that you can create mind maps quickly, which I think is very, very, very powerful for any student. On an additional note, if you ever have open book tests, this is fantastic, especially if they're online, because you can search for it. Now, again, I'm saying open book, don't cheat, don't use this for cheating. That's not a conversation that we're having over here. If you're watching these videos with that intent, this is not the place for you. Right? Let me be very clear here. This is not the place for you if this is your goal. But for those that want to do it the right way, you can have an incredible tool at your hands for those types of tests, because now all of a sudden, as long as you're familiar with the topics, so you skimmed through the topics and you know where things are in case you need to go more in depth into them, this saves you hours, because if this is an open book test, well, you know where stuff is. Right? So this is really powerful. I'm going to talk a lot more about Goodnotes and we'll go from there. If you think this series is serving you well, please consider heading down to the link below where you can get this course free of ads, as well as access to a PDF that summarizes everything you're going to see here, and access to the Unsung community, which is where you'll find a lot of individuals that want to use their time wisely. The course is in a pay what you want format, so you can actually just throw in whatever you think it's fair, because my goal over here is to get you started in this community so you can start, you know, seeing what we're all about. Okay, now that you understand these two main softwares, I hope you're ready because the next video is all about time management and how I used my time to get my master's degree twice as fast as everybody else. Time, our most valuable resource, but also the one that we most often take for granted. The one we never care to learn to manage. We spend way too many hours on things we don't want to spend time on, and worst of all, we spend too many hours on things that don't make us happy. So what can you do to try to be more mindful of your time? This is such an important topic that I decided to create a course around time management in which I'm teaching all of the necessary tools, tricks, skills, and strategies that I used. And the motto of the course is something like this. I'll bet you that if you give me 100 minutes, I will teach you how to turn them into 100 hours. So if this sounds interesting to you, go on the link below. I linked it over there. But for now, for this video, I'm going to be teaching you my most mundane day-to-day tools that I've been using. My basic time management is a combination of a couple different tools. In Notion, I'm going to pull this out here back for you. Like we were talking about, I use this very simple to-do list that can be quickly changed, and you can, you could do whatever. So if you need today and tomorrow for whatever reason, you can just, right? And you go from there. Oh, there you go, right? And you create this, another one, and so on. But usually I try to keep this simple, and I tops do today and tomorrow, okay? Side note, I'll make these templates available below. However, there are days that I need to be super specific with my time management, and that's the point that I will use Goodnotes. And I'm gonna pull up something for you over here that will give you a better sense. So this is something that I discuss on the time management course, and I'm going to pull it out for you, which is an example I was giving over there. And you can download this PDF as well, link is below. It's something that if I ever need to do more specific time boxing and I need to go all the way down and be by the dot, I will use time boxing, and I will do the morning routine work, analytical work, then the walk plus lunch, then shallow work. And within those boxes, within those big boxes, you can still do the so-called Pomodoro techniques, which are in short, 25-minute sessions with 5-minute breaks. You do that 3 or 4 times, and then you do a longer break. There's more to it, but that's the gist. Obviously, you can see that I, used my iPad to write these down. But the point is that there's power in simplicity. And, when you keep things very simple, you don't get distracted. And when you're trying to be focused, that is the #1 goal. You cannot let distractions get in your way. Side note number 2, you can totally use your computer, but I just kind of like using a tablet and an iPad better. And then side note number 3, you can also get the PDFs below. The second idea is that I constantly make use of small chunks of time. So like say I have 10 minutes. Can I organize my room in that time? Can I do a couple dishes? Can I prep a meal? Is there anything that I can fill this time with? Now, do I have about 20-25 minutes? If that's the case, I'm gonna pull up this website, and it's called pomofocus.io. And I am going to run a Pomodoro session, right? You can adjust the Pomodoro session here to 20 minutes, 22 minutes, 25, whatever, your short breaks and then your long breaks. And you start the clock and it starts running, and it's beautiful. You can actually add the tasks even. I don't use that feature, but I love this website. I'm not affiliated in any way, shape, or form. I just use it constantly all the time when I need to focus and get things done. So highly recommend it. In other words, never treat small chunks of time like they're useless, because you'll be surprised on how much you can accomplish, in those little sections. The next video is about how I keep track of my personal goals, as well as how I plan for trips that I'm going with my friends or my family, or when I'm hosting them, anyone that's, important in my life. And I'm really excited that you're here, that you're watching this, and I think there's a ton of value going forward. So buckle up, there's more to come. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how I keep track of my personal goals and my trips. And I found it really funny because we often talk about what financial success and planning and tracking looks like, but we often completely ignore our personal goals, right? Like, what's the, if you were to leave Earth today, if your days were up, what is it that you wish you had done? What are the people you wanted to spend time with? What are the trips you wanted to go to? And I think there's a lot of power in discussing those things and tracking it and making sure they stick around in front of you. So stick around. This is Personal Goals. Memento mori, or in my personal dictionary, Latin for you're definitely going to die one day, so make sure you live while you can. This is something I try to remember every single day. In fact, I have a tattoo on my bicep that is supposed to remind me of that. So if you go through my videos there, I'm sure there's some video there that I'm wearing a t-shirt and you can see that. As harsh as that may sound, it's true. Death is inevitable. And once you truly internalize that, you're going to start wondering and caring about the things you're going to do in this world before you run out of time. In my case, this manifested into me making sure I'm looking at my personal goals and I'm keeping track of them and I'm reminded of them. So this video is supposed to show you how I do that. How does this apply to my life and how I keep track of it? Because if I am working towards something, I'd like to know what I'm working towards and does this align with the things that I would like to do before I run out of time. So it's finally time for me to discuss how I organize my goals and trips. So let's roll. Hey there, if you're anything like me and you hate when YouTube put those 30-second ads in your videos that get you totally distracted, much like this one, which is why I'm trying to make it at least entertaining to you, I created this course to be a pay whatever you want format in which you're not going to have any ads or any distractions. And I put that on the platform and I did it like a pay whatever you want one to allow you to just put a couple dollars or whatever you think it's fair if you want to show that you care for this stuff and you want to keep the lights on here, but you also get a PDF with all the summaries and all the information that you're seeing over here, as well as access to the Unsung community, which is a place that you get to see and meet other people that are like-minded in the sense that they want to be very careful with their time and they want to live life intentionally. So if that's you and that sounds interesting, go over there. I will love you regardless. Take care. Back to the video. Now, since my goals are super personal, I'm not going to share the specific goals with you, but I'm certainly going to give you the template, and the ideas of how I operate and how I track these goals. And credit where it's due, I got this template from Ali Abdal, and I'm going to find a video and link it below as well. And then I made a couple changes to fit my needs, and I hope you can do the same as well. I currently use one of these templates for my own personal goals, and then another one so I can keep track of all the projects and ideas that I have for Unsung Productions as well. Okay, let's navigate to over here on the Home tab. If you didn't have this on the side, you can just press this button here, right? If you hover over, come over here. And then under this home, we're gonna go for goals. You can click over here. You can also go over here. Both of them are going to work. And I'm going to pull this up. We're gonna go part by part here. Don't worry about everything just yet, okay? The first thing that I want you to pay attention to is this question over here. What is my perfect day like? What does that look like? If you were to craft a perfect day, like to the dot, detail, give all the possible detail you can, tie it by minute, tie it by hour, everything. Where are you? Who are you with? What are you doing? What are you eating? Like, what's the situation? When you get that down, there's a big chance that either your goals are a lot closer than what you think, or two, a lot clearer now than what you initially thought. That alone is very important, very powerful. Now, looking down over here, you're gonna see a few different categories: bucket list, active investment, delegated, passive income, completed. Okay, and these are some goals over here, but say going to a zero gravity place, publishing a book, take this one is a true one. Take dad on a week-long trip. This is also a true one. Cruise with my mom, learn saxophone, visit Mario Kart, hit $100,000 in net worth. So these are things that are on your bucket list, right? Those are things that you want to do. So you can add over here a new one, and you can add the type. So like, is it work? Is it investment? Is it a skill? Say, I want to learn how to fly a plane. I don't know. Learn to fly a plane. Right? You do that over here. Now, active investment are things that theoretically you are working on. Hit this much in net worth, become a better singer, publish a book. So if you're working on a book, you would move that over here. If you are planning the trip with a cruise, you jump it over here. Now you can see the things you're active on. Now, the important part is that you should not have a lot of things going on at the same time to the extent that this list overpowers this, unless you're absolutely built different. But I generally have a lot of things going on, and I still, on any active week, I'm not gonna have, I don't know, more than 5 things going on here at once. Now, for the next part, this is actually something on my personal one. Instead of the digital courses here, I had the editing delegated, because there are some things that if you would spend your time on, but you can delegate it, that's a win. If it's something you would not spend your time on and you're delegating it to someone else, you might be just wasting somebody else's time. But if it's something you would work on and you can delegate, do that, because that frees up. So like, say Cruise with My Mom is being delegated, there's someone, some assistant, some travel planner planning this for me. It's delegated. It's still active, it's still being worked on, but it's just delegated. Now, passive investment is, I just called it that way. I don't know particularly why, but just means that are things that are to some extent automated. They're normal. You don't have to really think about them. So like my workout routine just happens in the background. I just constantly do it. I don't have to stress about it. It's just there. It just constantly goes on, and I don't have to, put time and effort into it. Well, time and effort into it is another word, but you get the sense of like when I go over it, I don't need to make extra steps and extra effort to show up. I show up and I work out and I do my thing and then move forward. And then last thing here is like once that's completed, say you went on the trip with your mom, you move that over here, it's completed. You can hide it if you'd like, and then you go from there. Now I want to quickly talk about trips. More specifically, I'm going to be discussing how I organize and plan them out. And in this case, I'm going to be showing you the plan that I made when I hosted my best friend Manuel here in New York City. Some of you may be curious about this many in New York City part, which is how I planned one of my trips. I actually haven't opened this in a while. And this is when my friend came over. We had a very good time. So the idea there is that you will send this stuff to your friends and you send this to your family. I've done it with my friends, my family. Partner was visiting me. We also did that. And you can attach PDFs. You can add comments. I think I might have a comment here somewhere. Yep. So like just for myself, so I know exactly where it was or the times that it was open. You can start attaching all of those things. So like over here, you could have attached the PDF. You could have embedded the PDF with the tickets and the QR codes, right? And the beauty of this stuff, and at the end, totally improper. He's great. I love him. You can export this stuff as a PDF. So you can share and publish it to the web, which is an option, which is because he uses Notion, I sent that to him like this. But you could also export it as a PDF. You see over here on the side? Which is kind of nice too, because if people don't necessarily use Notion, now they can see still the work, and it looks pretty nice, it looks pretty neat, and then you go from there. It's kind of nice, yeah. I've done this many times, and it's really funny because it's so simple, but it shows your friends and your loved ones that you give a shit, that you cared enough to plan for, when you're gonna see them. This video is a lot more personal, so I'm hoping you got a sense of, how to think through those things so you can adapt it to yourself. Now, stay tuned because the next video is about intentional personal finance, and it's very hands-on, and I think you're gonna end up learning a lot and enjoying a lot. In this video, I'm gonna be talking to you about, you guessed it, how I keep track of my personal finances. And it's pretty rough that not a lot of people talk about the actual hands-on of keeping track of your finances. You see people like, hey, you should keep track of it, but like, what does that look like? What does that actual, what is the process of writing stuff down look like? And just a disclaimer, the information on this video is not intended as financial, legal, or tax advice. It is purely created for your own entertainment purposes. Without further ado, let's talk money. Truth be told, you can earn a lot of money and still be broke. There are a lot of doctors, engineers, lawyers, and entrepreneurs who have a lot of money and yet are not truly wealthy. So, what's going on? You see, if you're relatively new to personal finance or finance in general, one of the concepts you need to familiarize yourself with is the concept of cash flow. And in simple terms, cash flow really just is the money coming in. Now, think of this. If a doctor has $200,000 coming in, but $210,000 coming out, or in expenses, then, well, the doc is cash flow negative. In other words, the doc is losing money. So what makes mortals achieve financial success? You see, one of my life goals is to become financially independent. That means that I'm hoping to earn enough passive income that is enough to support myself. Passive income is for when you earn money for not necessarily doing one thing. It's not tied to a specific effort that you're putting towards that money. An example would be, say your favorite, black beverage that has a lot of caffeine. Say you own some stocks of those, you are a shareholder, you're part owner. Every year or every quarter, they will give you some cash just because you are an owner, right? The company is doing well and so on. Those are dividends. That's one of the ways to earn passive income. That's just one example, but in general, say I just want to play the guitar and make videos like this without ever having to worry about making money because that's already happening on the background. That's what I'm looking for. I'm lazy. To achieve that goal, however, I truly believe that I should be watching over my expenses and making sure I know when my money is coming out. And the biggest thing that I've done is that I keep my tracking system as dumb as possible. Yes, I may get some hate in the comments, but yes, I keep it as dumb and simple as possible. Let me explain that to you. Now, time to get our hands dirty. What you're gonna see right now is my Notion financial tracker. And I'm gonna show you that feature that I spoke about earlier today, about the Command P, and I'm pressing Command P, and then you can search, right, within that. And one of the ways to go over here, so like if I had the education or the finances over here, I would search for that, and I would be able to go over there. Now, I put a couple things on this page, and I'm gonna go one by one. I'm gonna explain everything. Obviously, the numbers are just made up, so you get a general sense of how this works, and then you're supposed to add in whatever works for you, okay? So over here, this is the budget part. This is the monthly part that I spend the most time on a monthly basis, obviously, because as soon as I make a purchase, I will write it down here. But say, you put the month over here, whatever the month is, and then say your income. Now we're gonna go down each one of them. Say your income post-tax. Now, if you're a W-2 employee, you're not supposed to be putting your whole salary divided by 12. You're supposed to put in what you actually get in your bank account. In case you provide services and you don't get taxes taken out, you need to account for the taxes, right? Search for a tax calculator and make sure that you have that extra step showing how much is in taxes, because you don't want to have that trouble later on with the IRS. Now, so say after tax, you have here $3,870. Obviously, the numbers are going to be broken down. My suggestion is to never really worry about the pennies, okay? And often enough, not even worry about the single dollars either. It just makes your life easier. It's just, round up 1 month, round down 1 month. It's just whatever. You're going to be okay. If you can, save as much as you can. We talk a lot about investing. Save money. It's good to save money. It's a good habit. It helps. For rainy days and emergency fund, it's nice. And the way I found that works for me is that I'm automating it. Meaning, if I get my paycheck on every 2 Fridays, right? On that same Friday, I have the money automatically. So it's like, say you're putting $750 a month on your savings account. Half of that, twice a month, is going to go directly into your savings account. Directly. You don't even see it. It just happens. There's 2 reasons for that. One of them is that automating it makes sure you don't forget it. But then 2, and most important, it takes out the friction. When it takes out the friction, it just happens. If you had to physically go in there every month, and twice a month, you go in there and you make that transfer, there's a big chance that you're gonna be late one day, you're gonna feel like you could use the money one day. It's always better to just send it out, and then if you need to take it back, just draw it back to your account for whatever reason, right? The next thing is that I hope that you can see that I immediately put savings first. Savings first. Then rent, utilities, then everything else. Savings first. You take care of yourself first. And then I go over here. Rent and utilities. Please don't go into debt. This is why we're doing the situation. Don't get into, pay the people you owe. But you get my point here. You're supposed to still be watching out for your future and taking care of yourself. Rent and utilities, I just put them over here. Say rent is 900 bucks, utilities is 70, whatever. Don't know your specific numbers. Self-development. This could be anything, really. It could be from a book that you feel like you're learning, a course that you want to take, be it like a digital course or an actual like class, a salsa class that you want to take, whatever. Anything that theoretically grows you as a person, okay? I think it's highly beneficial to have this there. I've had it some months, I didn't have it some months. It works, life changes, you're gonna figure this out. All of this is just a template for you to find out what works for you, okay? Now, subscriptions and installments, and I left this over here to give you an example of how I navigate this. Installments are things that, say you bought an iPhone and then you're paying over 12 months with Apple. You would pay, say you're paying 100 bucks per month. Those are the installments, and I would write them down over here, right? That goes out every month. And then the subscriptions themselves, right? Like Apple Care, Audible, whatever. And then I do the quick sum over here, the 8 plus 20. And then if there are multiple here, I would have done the same thing. So in this case, it would be 100, right? And then you just add them both, put them over here, which this is not even right. Oh, I know why I did this. There you go. This would be the other part of the cash over here. So this is 120. This is going to be another 72, right? On whatever else. Other installments. Now, gym and fitness, whatever works for you. Exercise is good for you. Do some exercise. It helps a lot, especially with, your mental health too. Not a lot of people talk about this. Learning, which is the next video, that also plays a big role. I don't discuss that specifically in that video, but exercising, think, your body's functioning properly, you're getting enough oxygen, obviously you're going to end up learning better. Now, groceries, health, hygiene, I keep them combined just because it has worked for me. So like if I need to buy conditioner, shampoo, if I need to go to the doctor's to get my teeth cleaned, whatever, and groceries, I put them all over here. Don't ask me why, it just works for me. Again, just a template. And it has been working for a long time now. So put the budget over here. Entertainment, whatever there. Transportation, be it your car, gas, subway, Uber, whatever else, right? And then other, which could be miscellaneous. You could be gifts, could be whatever. It's just other. It's there. The goal over here, however, that I want you to realize is that obviously this is money coming in, the income. And if you have multiple sources of income, please write them individually. I think that's going to help. And everything else is a negative, including the savings, by the way. Why? Because I want at the end of the month for this to be 0. Okay? We want a budget that adds to be 0, net 0. And you also might have noticed that this is a planned tab because there's a big chance that your salary is probably going to be the same, but there's a big chance that and we're just going to copy this over here, but as the month goes by, right, you're going to start adding things. So like say the gym was actually 79 and then say groceries was indeed 400, or it was like 400, 411, I don't know, or to keep it simple, 420. And then you're going to have to, you see how this changed already? So this is not the same and this is not the same. So your goal now here is to also adjust this because you want this to be mobile. Now you have $1 left, theoretically, here, right? In this case, you could have just put the dollar over here. What if it's more? Okay, let's keep going. Say in entertainment, you actually spent 800 bucks. Transportation, was 200 bucks. Other, you spent 300. Uh, Subscription installments, that was 200. Self-development, say you spent 2. And here's a good example. Say you buy a course, so you're gonna do like 79 course on meditation. I don't know, okay? And then you do 16 bucks on book, whatever book, right? It's 85, 95. You're gonna do $95 here. Every month, so like now that, you know, the days go by and you're going, you go to, let's see, you go to a coffee shop. Let me pull this out. And I put my coffee on entertainment, by the way. Kind of quirky. Any restaurant situation that goes on, I put it over here. So like say I went to a coffee shop that I spent $6 on a cappuccino. Coffee at and I'll do like the date. Say, I don't know, say today is January 1st of 2027. I don't know. Oh yeah, in the US you guys do it backwards, so it has to be everything here. 2027. I don't know. But you obviously wouldn't need the year here. I would get out of the coffee shop, get my coffee, or as I'm making the purchase, I would pull up my phone because Notion is on your phone too, or your tablet and everywhere, and I would immediately write this down, and I would put over here 6. Next time I do that again, but now say I'm buying my favorite Mexican spot, favorite Mexican food, or Brazilian food, because I haven't had Brazilian food in a while, and it was 12 bucks. Right? And that was on the 3rd, just out of curiosity. And then 12 here, we're gonna do 18. You do the math quickly and you add this up. Say at the end of the month, this turned out to be 800 bucks. Now say rent and utilities were about the same, your savings were about the same. Theoretically on this budget here, you have $56 left. However, you need to go back and revise this stuff. So what is different here? So this is 95. This was the same, this was the same, this was the same. This was 800. Then here you had 200. And over here you had 300. Now you have 56 bucks. What would I do with this money? If it's at the end of the month, save it. Or at that point, you already done the saving. I would particularly save it. I would try to save it. But you already done your saving. Like theoretically, that portion of your life has already been taken care of. You can give yourself some fun money. Like go out, take yourself out for drinks. I don't know. Or take a friend out for drinks. That's a good one. You know, call your friend. Hey, drinks on me tonight. Whatever. And drinks with Manny because, you know, you saw my friend there. That's it. That's done. That's your budget. That's the idea here.
Hey there, if you're anything like me and you hate when YouTube put those 30-second ads in your videos that get you totally distracted, much like this one, which is why I'm trying to make it at least entertaining to you, I created this course to be a pay whatever you want format in which you're not going to have any ads or any distractions, and I put that on the platform, and I did it like a pay whatever you want one to, allow you to just put a couple dollars or whatever you think it's fair if you want to, show that you care for this stuff and you want to keep the lights on here, but you also get a PDF with all the summaries and all the information that you've seen over here, as well as access to the Unsunk community, which is a place that you get to see and meet other people that are like-minded in the sense that they want to be very careful with their time and they want to, live life intentionally. So if that's you, that sounds interesting, go over there. I will love you regardless. Take care. Back to the video.
Okay, now we're done with this budget part, and I'm going to introduce you to how I track my net worth and my overall big picture and how I stand and where I stand financially. So we're not going to talk about the goals right this second, but let me pull this out real quick. Say this is, we're joking, 2027, right? And you're keeping track of your finances over here. And every month, I obviously have it just for this month here, but every month you would go down and you would do this exercise that we're about to do, and you'd come out with a number over here. And you'd get to see, this is an example that I created for the net worth, but I created this way because look, it's 10K here, it's 9K here, 12, 13, so going up 20, then it goes down again, then it goes to 22, and you could go, whatever, you could go back to 20. and then 23 and 25. The point here was that don't expect your financial literacy and financial success and financial stability to be linear. Life happens, and I really want you to internalize that. Okay, now let's pull this up. Let's go over here. First thing, so this section is like your bank accounts, all sorts of them. Then the next one is the big picture, which is where you would see, your net worth, how much you own, how much you owe, and then you get the final numbers, things you might have to pay, things you might want to be or have to get paid, like somebody owes you money or whatever. And then at the end, you take a screenshot of this at the end of the month and just place it over here, right? So this is going to be filled with information, which we're going to take out for now. Over here, so you would go on your bank account, say it's Bank of America, and you put the balance over there. Then your savings account on also Bank of America, in this case, whatever, also put it over there. Your emergency fund. This is a high yield savings account. I use Marcus, has worked for me. And that is where I put my emergency fund. So the money that you're pulling from the savings over here, you would put that there, right? And you just leave it there. HSA, if you have that, Roth 401k, if you have that. Usually for Roth 401ks, you might have a vested and a non-vested part, which is going to play a role later on. Vested just means you currently own the money. So if you were to leave the company right now, you would have that money. Non-vested, if you were to leave right now, you would not owe that money. You would not own that money. Meaning you need to stay in the firm for a few more years for that money to become yours. Then if you have anything in cash, so everything up until this point was positive. And now we're coming to the negatives, right? Which is the stuff that you owe. So say you have a credit card statement that's due on the 4th. Now, be very careful with the words here just so you understand this. You always want to pay off your credit card. Always. Don't, like, credit card debt is a problem because the interest rates are ridiculously high. Now, there is scenarios, and there have been in the US, this was very common in Brazil, and then it got to the US recently, that you can pay monthly for stuff, like installments. So in those cases, there's a big chance that your credit card balance will run like this and like $780, but only 120 in statement this month, just because of this installment situation. You want to understand this on your own. You want to do your own research. Call the company if you don't really get this stuff. But the idea is that like you might owe 780 bucks, but this month you only need to pay 120 to be okay and not pay any fees and like be perfectly fine without having to owe anything further. No fees, no anything else. Okay. If you have credit cards like that, if you have balances like that, so like the Apple credit card is like that, right? You can 12 months or 6 months to pay for stuff, and you pay like a certain amount, and that's kind of how that works. My goal over here was that like I wanted to do what does it do this month? What do I need cash for right this month? And what is more long term? So in this case, this credit card has 780 bucks overall. So I owe 780 bucks in this case. But this month, only 120. This is going to play a role in a little bit. The next part is that you have a credit card, like the Apple card, that this month you only need to pay 100, but the total owed is 480, and you do the as of. And then there's the breakdown, like in this case, we had the Mac, and we had the whatever else, the computer, the Mac and the phone, right? And you have 3 months left and 6 months left. The reason I did them differently here, so like you can see that this one is that you own this month, this one is the overall, is because there's also the chance that you opened the credit card, or like say the credit card statement closes and you have to pay that much. It's like 400 bucks, I don't know. But then you don't have to pay right this second. The statement closed and that's the amount I have to pay. And now you keep going, like you paid 400, and now you keep incurring expenses for your, just like you normally would, past that date. that extra amount is going to go on the following statement, right? So you don't need to pay that extra amount right now. You're going to end up paying on the next month, which creates this exact situation that I was telling you about. If you don't fully get it, please do more research on this. It's very important that you understand. Again, this is information that's important to know. It's not any investment advice. It's more like, hey, this is how things work. Now, say you have all this, and now you have over here, and you want to get your big picture part. Total assets, anything that's positive, including the non-vested and the cash, you're going to add up, and you're going to put it over here. Okay? I am not going to do that because you can do math. Vested assets is everything minus the not vested. So whatever that amount was, over here, minus 2,500 because it's a not vested. Okay? Liquid assets. Money you have access in a week. So in this case, cash. Nothing on the 401k because you don't want to pay the fees there. The HSA, not really, unless you have constant medical bills and you use that a lot. I don't consider it for myself. Emergency fund, that's in. Savings, which is just a regular savings account, doesn't yield a lot. In. Normal, in. So normal, savings, cash, emergency fund, those four. Liquid, I'll put them here. Short-term liabilities. Liabilities is just a fancy word for stuff you have to pay, right? Assets is stuff that you owe, and then liability is stuff you have to pay. Short-term liabilities, the goal here is for you to find what is due this month. So in this case, short-term, you need to pay this, and you need to pay this. And there's a big chance that you'd have more credit cards and more things going on. Total liabilities is the bigger picture, is this whole thing and this whole thing. I do not discount the monthly part. I just do overall. I actually just do the full amount. You could argue that is double counting, but I want to get an actual picture of right this second, right? And then I do short-term net worth, which is just liquid minus short-term. And I explain over here. And then the net worth, which is the total assets minus the total liabilities. Oh my God. Well, no, actually, I was going to take this out. But I'm going to keep it here. Comment, probably still recovering from unsunk payment, which was a 3K payment. Need to keep it tight. This was a comment for myself because my net worth went down and I was like, what is going on? And what can I do about it? So I left this over here. Comment, probably still recovering from the unsunk payment, right? So this is what it really looks like. This is actually the nitty gritty of like, yeah, let me sit down. And those are the moments that I was telling you about. So important to do it automatically or to do it manually, not automatically, to do it manually because you see this shit. You're like, fuck, like I don't know if I can say that, but you're like, okay, what's going on? What have I done? And then you'll get a sense of what's in there. Now payables. So say you, let me think of a payable here. Say someone bought concert tickets for you, and I just because I'm doing the reverse here, it kind of works. And you haven't paid yet, but you know you will have to within the next couple months for whatever reason, or there's a big expense coming up. So like if I'm doing trips to Brazil, I might put it over here, but generally it's expenses that have already occurred. I'll have to pay somebody or something or some business. Same over here. I bought tickets for somebody and they're gonna give me tickets. I don't think that's the actual amount, but it's over there. Okay. I don't add them into my net worth because there's always the chance that something happens in between and this person doesn't pay, right? This is the nitty gritty, the detailed of how I navigate this stuff. Okay. It works for me. It may not work for you. It might work for you. But the idea, we're still going to go through the goals tab. The idea is that you are going to go through many versions of this situation before you can find what really works for you. Let me open the goals tab. Over here, you can write down your goals. You put this drop down over here, and then you put further detail on it, right? Like pay off student loans. Is it realistic? Is it specific? Is it achievable? Is it relevant? It's I think I used the so-called SMART goals over here. If you don't know what that is, like the word SMART, and each one of them specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time specific. Like when do you want to achieve it by? I don't think this is an actual example. Oh no, actually my pay off student loan, it is a goal that I achieved. Yep. So, that's the idea over here. You can keep track of it. And boom, I clean this up and I put this over here, so when you download the template, you can have this. Okay, nice. I hope you got a better sense of what that actually looks like on a day-to-day basis. And I've been perfecting and changing this system that I showed you for a few years now, and it works very well for me, and I expect you to find what works for you. Again, it's personal finances. It's your finances. It should make sense to you. And I seriously think that it means so much more than any of those automated systems, because now you're taking the wheel on your financial life. Writing everything down reminds you when you make dumb purchases, right? You're 2 days later, a day later, a week later, when you're writing that purchase down, you're like, gosh, that was really dumb. That, I think, has been one of the main drivers of my financial maturity, right? My growth in my personal finances. Okay, I hope you're ready for the next video, because that is the one that I'm going to be talking about how I graduated my master's program twice as fast as my peers. And I'm going to be giving you all the tricks and softwares and ideas that I used over there. Ha! Welcome to Wizardry 101. In today's lesson, I'm going to teach you how to get all of your professors to give you straight A's. In this episode, I'm going to be talking about how I managed to graduate my master's program twice as fast as my peers while maintaining a high GPA and still working full-time. Now, truth be told, I'm going to give you the actual, day-to-day operational level of how I finished the master's, but I need you to understand that I had two basic skills that are not necessarily so basic, that were massive building blocks on my success, my academic success. The first one was my extraordinary ability to fully focus and narrow in and using the time that I had wisely, right? If I had 20 minutes, I was zoomed in for those 20 minutes. And the second one is that I learned to learn. I spent years trying to figure out learning strategies that would work for me. I tested every single one of them, and by the time that I hit my master's, I knew what system would work for me. I knew what was the best, the most effective route for me to learn certain types of material. With all that said, there's two things I would like to say. The first one is that because I had to research all of this on my own and do by trial and error and see what would work and what wouldn't, what are the concepts and what are the ideas, I spent a lot of hours trying to sort out through this information. And again, shameless plug, I decided to create a course for it because it's something that I wish I had had when I was going through this process. And I truly, seriously, wholeheartedly believe in the value that these courses bring. I put in a lot of hours in them to really make the content something that I can look back and be like, yes, I am proud of that and I stand by it. And every time I watch a video again, I'm like, yeah, that was it. I am proud of that project. I am proud of that information that's being shown to people, and I truly think it helps them. The second thing is that, sure, I was able to graduate twice as fast as everybody else and still maintain high grades. So it's possible, it's doable, but I don't recommend it. Like, let me be very clear with that. There is a clear trade-off by operating at 100% for, you know, a whole year. The fact that it can be done doesn't mean it should. With that said, I'm gonna give you the tools and the skills and the strategies that you can use in case you want to use it, right? Doesn't mean I think you have to and I think you should, but in case you need to and in case you desire to do so, you have the tools. And I want you to think of it like someone who's very good at fighting and very capable and very skilled, but zen most of the time. That's kind of how I want you to, approach this. Since I graduated, AI has improved a lot. And there's a big chance that by the time you're watching this video, even if it's like 1-2 months after, there's a lot that has already changed. So I would rather you focus on the concepts, the ideas of how I'm using AI within education, rather than the specific tools and the specific methods over here. So I'm going to try to do a more general conceptual explanation. The first one is on ChatGPT, ChatPDF, and AI, or Notion AI in general. One of the things that I used to do for class was that every time I got a text, or be it a PDF or an article or any version of that, I would find a way to put that text over on ChatGPT and say something along the lines of, hey, give me a quick summary about this text along with the bullet points and let me know if there's any relevant information or unexpected information that I should be aware of. So in other words, here's what I would actually ask for them. Let me go to education over here and I'll explain everything there in a second. But I would ask them, like, hey, I would drop the file in the chat PDF and I would say, write me a list of bullet points with the highlights of what I need to know. Write me a 1-paragraph summary. Are there any particularly important or unexpected arguments in this text? So just kind of how I told you. So I would prompt that and I would get a little summary. As a side note, in case they gave me an article that I didn't have in PDF or I didn't have the text and I wanted to later on drop in Goodnotes or some version of that, I would put the website here on this pdf5filters.org, and that would give me a PDF of that article. And that's what I did for a lot of my things, and that was very helpful. I will link that below as well. Now, here's where a lot of people get it wrong, because the job is not done yet. Although you're using this text because you have a class discussion or you just need to know that specific text for whatever reason, you have a quiz or it doesn't matter, it's not over, right? This is the beginning. This is where you get it going. All that they're doing is like, hey, here's a quick summary just so you understand what is happening. Now, your job with that summary is to go through the text and read titles, subtitles, and first and last sentence of each paragraph to see, you're skimming, to see if you get a better sense of what the text is and if it's worth spending the time, right? And at that point, it should have just taken you, I don't know, call it 15 minutes, because obviously the ChatGPT part is super quick, and then the reading should also be fast. You're just trying to get a general sense of, do I already know the material in this text, or do I need to go and seek out further information on it? Do I need to fully dive in? And I'm going to give you an example over here for a class, and I'm going to use that Command P feature here. There's a reading for Spotify that I had on one of my classes. This was the reading. This was me from the PDF thing that I just showed you, the 5 filters. Yeah, PDF 5 filters. And this was the reading. And then comments in class, stuff I was starting to write down, but here, ChatGPT summary. It gave me the summary. It was a very solid summary. And that was the beginning of this conversation, right? And then props to the author here. I will link that below in case you want to read this yourself. And that is the first portion. The second portion is that now that you put all of this into Notion, you need to properly organize this stuff. So I gave you one example already of how you can quickly retrieve. So if you had further notes, you'd rather them over here and then you go from there. Now that you get that you should put this stuff on Notion, my recommendation is for every class that you have or every course you're taking, you would have a page for it that you can reference and you can keep. And I would also use the toggle list with a to-do. I will link this page and I would have the to-do with the actual dates over there. And depending on the class, you're going to navigate differently, right? Like some classes, it's going to be more Goodnotes based because you need handwritten. Some of them are going to be a lot more coding. Some of them are just going to be like note taking in general. So you need to get a sense of what feels best. One that worked well for me, it's going to be a good example, is this data mining class that I created a database of every single class that we had and every single project that we had. That way I could keep track of everything that was going on. So I'm going to go see data mining for business analytics, and I would go over here. The assignment, I will put it over here. The articles, I will put them over here. Same situation that you saw. The reading for Spotify is over here. And that also worked for, coding, right? I would copy the Jupyter notebook over here to be able to reference it. And you're also going to notice that I do this on Goodnotes too. But, there are endless possibilities on how you can organize your notes on Notion. And I think that this is the best one that I found. And this is the one that I used throughout the entirety of my college career. I think there's another one over here that might be worth showing you. Same situation, same database. This was an article-based class with a lot of discussion. So this strategy that I just told you came very handy for this one. And we go over there. And again, your best friend here, once you're creating these databases, your best friend is the Command P function because you can search. Command P, you can search for anything. Reading for, it's right there, right? Like you can quickly retrieve information.
Hey there, if you're anything like me and you hate when YouTube put those 30-second ads in your videos that get you totally distracted, much like this one, which is why I'm trying to make it at least entertaining to you, I created this course to be a pay whatever you want format in which you're not going to have any ads or any distractions. And I put that on the platform and I did it like a pay whatever you want one to allow you to just put a couple dollars or whatever you think it's fair if you want to, show that you care for this stuff and you want to keep the lights on here, but you also get a PDF with all the summaries and all the information that you've seen over here, as well as access to the Unsunk community, which is a place that you get to see and meet other people that are like-minded in the sense that they want to be very careful with their time and they want to live life intentionally. So if that's you, that sounds interesting, go over there. I will love you regardless. Take care. Back to the video.
Now, so for Goodnotes, I want to show you, I kind of already gave a quick explanation throughout the first video, the intro, but I think we can dive in a little bit further with more, a little bit more calm this time and patience. So for this same class, the data visualization class, no, the data mining class, because it was so coding based, I didn't really bother putting most things here on Goodnotes just because it's more handwritten and PDFs that you can search, and I didn't necessarily needed to search for that specific class. However, later in that semester, when I had the issue that I needed summaries for the final, when I was creating my mind maps for the final, that is when I started using Goodnotes for that class. So an example here that I searched earlier that you saw was the data, it was the decision tree, right? Data mining final summaries. This specific, and I would go through the chapters and I would do my own summaries, which in this case is a mix of mind maps and just general written summaries with a couple of icons to remember But that was one of the ways I studied. I don't think these are all the notes, but that was one of the ways I studied. And here's the same Spotify that you saw over there, right? And those were the 3 things that were important within that article. Funnily enough, I can quickly retrieve this information now, months after this class. So this is how Goodnotes can be very important and very useful as well. And don't forget that it has the PDF feature. Just you can search within PDFs as well. So right, like decision trees, blah, 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 blah. You see, you get more information here. Now, the last one that I think is very useful and very cool that I did not have throughout my master's program, but I have been using it a lot after. It has replaced how I use Google, or whether I use Google sometimes. I use this way more often than I use Google now. It's called perplexity.ai. I am sure there's going to be other options. There's probably already a lot more. There's this Copilot feature that I think just enhances the entire thing. You can search as if you were just asking Google, and you can start giving context. So, let's do a couple of searches here, and I saved one. Is it better to multitask or monotask? Please provide a list of pros and cons and look at the possible research papers as well. Just search. So found these 4. It's going to give the pros and cons of each research findings. Research findings suggest that workers on platforms like Amazon tend to prefer multitasking. Additionally, another study multitasking. However, science has shown that multitasking can lead to increased distractions, reduced productivity, and lower test score. In conclusion, while multitasking may be preferred, science suggests monotasking is more effective. And it's linking the sources, which is very cool. This is very fast. This is very important. Like, saves a lot of hours. You can also give examples for a camera setup that I have, and I was like, hey, does this, I have this camera, this thing, and does it work if I buy this battery or whatever else, right? Do they talk to each other? And it does. It searches YouTube, it searches for everything. It basically goes through Google for you, and it has been very, very, very useful and saved me a lot of hours.
Okay, and here's a couple of bonus ideas. When I was in my master's program, those things either weren't available or they weren't free. And I'm sharing them because, those are concepts that maybe it's cool to get you thinking, and maybe you're going to be the person to build them. The first idea is that imagine a platform in which you quickly upload a text or a PDF, and that immediately turns into a quality audiobook, like not some like robot voice, but a quality audiobook that immediately goes to your phone and you can listen to in your commute as if you were a podcast. And the second idea is imagine the same concept of uploading a PDF or a text or some version of that, and it immediately, based on previous mind maps and summaries that you created, it creates your personalized mind map. I think these 2 tools could be super useful when a student is trying to master a topic for the first time. They are good, they will provide you the tools to get it going a lot faster. And with everything you saw here, the dream would be to have a platform that kind of does everything, right? Like it combines the calendar with your notes and your class notes and Notions and Goodreads. So having that integration and making really a mastermind of notes and, this assistant, this student assistant, because you have teacher assistant, you could have a student assistant. It would be very freaking cool. So maybe you're the person to build it. Just, food for thought.
So just to recap, here's a list of the 5 things that we discussed. Thanks for getting to the end of this video. I hope that you got to make sense of all of this, but I also hope you understand and that you can see that I've been using technology and AI to speed me up, but never to replace me. I'm always trying to make my learning process faster and better, but it's still about my learning process. It's not just about getting AI to do things for me. And I think the people that learn how to leverage AI for their own growth rather than just replacing their necessity for thinking will get ahead. So I hope you can see the value of these tools, and I hope you get to use them wisely, properly. And if you have any new ideas, you can drop them. We're always looking for new concepts and new ideas. In case you're curious, in case you're interested, I created a course on meta learning, meaning learning to learn, time management, meaning how do I find time for the things that I love, and body language meets public speaking. In other words, how do I become the most interesting speaker that I can possibly be and deliver unique presentations? You can find those at unsunk.org, and if you have any comments, feedback, ideas, things you'd like to see, please send me an email at info@unsunk.org. I do read those. I am curious. I do want to know what brings you value, because this is what I'm doing. This you are the reason I'm doing this. I want people to get value from this content. Thank you again, and I will see you on the next video.